Hello and welcome to episode 138 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. On today's show, my good friend Marisa from Chicago will be back to wrap up our conversation from last month. I had a total of 12 things that either should be changed or will most likely be changed at Walt Disney World, and we covered the first 6 in episode 135 in August. Today, I will have the other 6 possibilities of things to add at Walt Disney World. This is a great chance for Marisa and me to play Armchair Imagineer. Before we get started, if you're checking us out on Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty, the YouTube channel, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We have been overwhelmed with the love we have received from many of our recent episodes, and we have some really fun things planned in the future. Let's welcome Marisa from Chicago back to the show. Thanks for being here, Marisa.
Thanks for having me.
So we started earlier a list of 12 things that we wanted to add to Walt Disney World. And this isn't just like pie in the sky talk. These are either things that we think are going to be changing, are going to be added to Walt Disney World. We're just coming up with our ideas of what direction they should move. We did the first 6 of the 12 in a previous episode. So today we're going to do numbers 7 through 12. I think if that explanation was a little rough shot, you'll get what we're talking about here just as we go through the numbers. So number 7, I want you to add 2 new country pavilions to Epcot's World Showcase. This is the Armchair Imagineering rookie ball. This is the first thing people do when they start thinking about ways they would personally want to change Walt Disney World. So what do you have, Marisa?
I would add Brazil and Greece. Both are very popular food festival pavilions, and I think that having those year-round would be hugely beneficial. And I think that, like you said, this is such a popular armchair Imagineering question, and those come up all the time when people talk about it. So I feel like there's definitely a significant demand for those countries just kind of floating around in the Disney fan world. So I think that people would be very happy to have those.
In my opinion, those would be the most popular with the fans. Those would be the 2 that would have the highest guest satisfaction ratings. I think it is important to try to go to something like Brazil. I think my answer would have to include Brazil simply because we have not touched on South America yet, and that is a huge missing opportunity. We don't have that continent represented at all. Now, I am going to say, even though I think your Greece pavilion could potentially come with a Megara meet and greet, which would make me want the Greece pavilion very, very much, I'm going to say that I think we have the Mediterranean covered pretty well. We have Morocco, we have Italy. What I would like to see is something lower in Africa, something sub-Saharan Africa, because I don't think people realize how quickly some of these countries are growing and how much they are going to be major players in the world in the next 40 to 50 years. So I'm thinking either Nigeria or Kenya. And I would like to see Brazil and then one of those 2 countries. Those countries are growing rapidly. Their economies are growing rapidly, and they are going to be big time players at some point really soon. If you want to go back to that model where the country plays a part in building the pavilion, those countries would even like to control the narrative as they are entering the world stage in a major way. So those are my 2 suggestions. Plus, we know the 2 locations where they have to expand World Showcase. One of them would basically be blowing out Refreshment Outpost, which is kind of themed towards Africa already. So that would be a good location to put a Kenya or a Nigeria as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I would love to see that. And also, I'm clearly very food motivated. You would have some awesome food options there too.
You would have awesome food options, and I know that this mountain is technically in Tanzania, but you can see it from Kenya. I would love if they would eventually do a Kilimanjaro ride.
That would be really cool.
That would be really cool. We missed the Mount Fuji ride over in Japan. So now just move it to the other end of World Showcase. We could use something there. We could use a ride in between Norway and you don't go till France with another ride. So there definitely could be something there. It would be really, really good. All right, number 8. I want a character dining experience, and this can be anywhere on property, but I think Disney could use a couple more character dining experiences. And I don't know what you wrote down on your list, but we've already addressed Star Wars a couple of times. So if that's what you had, I'm going to ask you to change it.
No, I strategically picked Star Wars for something else so I could pick something else for this. So I know you're going to be shocked, but the character dining experience I want is Mary Poppins.
Where?
Give me Epcot. Put it in Epcot. Put it in the UK Pavilion. I know, they were talking about building that Cherry Tree Lane that has since been squashed. Instead of doing Cherry Tree Lane, give us a restaurant.
All right, hear me out. What if we do Cherry Tree Lane, but at the end of Cherry Tree Lane, there's a restaurant, and the facade of Cherry Tree Lane could actually end up making up the restaurant. So we still sort of get the best of both worlds back there.
I'm very okay with that on the condition that it's not Mary Poppins Returns.
I knew you were going to say that. You got to get over that. That was going to be
Cherry Tree Lane. I will listen. Julie Andrews, Dick Van Dyke. I can't move past that. But maybe
you see the character dining experience and you're eating and Bert comes out as a one-man band? Huge. And performs in the middle of the restaurant? That would be insane. Now, if it is a character dining, can you meet Jack, or does it just it has to be acting like that doesn't exist, or can he be there as well?
In my ideal world, you'd pretend he doesn't exist because he's basically Bert 2.0. However, I recognize that the fans will want to see him. So sure, Jack can be there. I think that this would be a really fun dining experience to have it open for dinner. And then in the afternoon, have it open for tea. So you could actually have tea with Mary Poppins and Co. So you could have not a full meal, but have a tea experience. And then if you want a full meal, you can have dinner. And I think here's my blue sky aspect of this. You really want to blow this out of the water? You've got robot technology that you're using for R2-D2.
I know exactly where you're
penguins. Going. Roll out some penguins. You could, do a little show with them where they kind of toddle around the floor and go do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Are the penguins going to serve you food like Rocky IV style? I
don't know if they're that advanced, but if they can.
Anybody who doesn't know to what I'm referring, in Rocky IV, he gets his friend Paulie a robot because it was the late 80s and every movie had to have a robot and it would serve him beers and stuff. That is a very, very good idea. I love it. I think it would work. I don't know if Disney would do it because I feel like they feel burned on trying to do Cherry Tree Lane, but they did do a lot of Mary Poppins theming over on the DVC side of the Grand Floridian, so they're definitely willing to use that property. And we're not going to have Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke forever, so it might be nice to, while we still have them, if we need to borrow any voice parts or if we need any, even just getting that cosmic okay from from the originals. So I hear what you're saying. I definitely like that one. I understand that we have Crystal Palace and the Winnie the Pooh characters in Magic Kingdom, but I feel like Magic Kingdom is a theme park that should have more than one character dining experience, because this is a park that, first of all, has such huge capacity that when you're by Crystal Palace, you're far away from other aspects of the park. And they are underutilizing Tomorrowland so much. Tomorrowland is just almost a tutorial in how to waste theme park space. So I would like to see a character dining experience in Tomorrowland. Now, I don't think we necessarily have to over theme this. We could just do Tomorrowland and the characters of Tomorrowland. We could have Buzz Lightyear, we could have Stitch. I would love if we had Wall-E, going back to your robot suggestion. One of the reasons that the Wall-E that they do have and is operational doesn't come out most days is because it's hard to maneuver it with too many crowds. But if you have a spacious restaurant and you could have a track for Wall-E to maneuver in the restaurant, I think that's something that they could do a lot better. And Buzz Lightyear is super popular. Stitch is super popular. That particular Wall-E would be popular. And of course, maybe Mike and Sully because of Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. I know that Disney has a problem with saying Pixar equals Tomorrowland, but I think that those would be some characters that people would like. It would put something in a place that just needs more things.
That would be a great idea. And I mean, I think adding more dining to Magic Kingdom in general is a good idea. There's not a whole lot of great options. So if that could be a great option, that would be huge. And I mean, look, I'm not big on character dining in general, but you say I can go see a little robotic Wall-E roaming around. Yeah, you've got me sold.
And we have some of the technology that we've used for Space 220 that obviously you wouldn't want to make it a rip-off Space 220, but let's use that technology. Let's give people a taste of something that in Epcot is more of an adult, more of a high dining kind of experience. Well, why don't we do a similar thing, but in a fun vein over in Magic Kingdom? It could be goofy with Stitch, and it could be thoughtful with Wall-E, and the things could change outside of the window depending on which IP is focused that 10-15 minute time period. And we're going to move on to number 9. I think this is the most important thing on the list. This is the thing that is the most needed in Walt Disney World, and that's an Omni-Mover dark ride to add to Disney's Hollywood Studios. I want to know what your theme is, and a bonus. Let's finally re-theme Rock and Roller Coaster forever, because this Aerosmith thing is going to come back and bite them in the backside if they keep holding on to this too long. There are already a lot of stories about Steven Tyler that have been coming out more and more and more, so maybe we just got to do something different with that. Aerosmith doesn't fit the theming of the park anymore anyway. So, Omni-Mover Dark Ride in Hollywood Studios, bonus points for re-theming Rock and Roller Coaster.
The Omni-Mover dark ride is something I really struggled with because I feel like Hollywood Studios in its current form is, I know we've discussed it before, but it's very disjointed. Like, it doesn't really have that overall theme anymore. It's kind of got sections. And I feel like we don't need another Toy Story ride. Like, we've got plenty of Toy Story. We don't need a Star Wars dark ride necessarily. I mean, yes, you could do it, but it would be difficult to do because I feel like Star Wars lends itself to action. So I think the best route to go would be to expand on the Pixar theme and put in a Coco dark ride. And I know everyone says put Coco in Epcot, but it's another one of those things where the renovations to make that happen are so extensive. And then the pavilion cannot accommodate the kind of lines it would accrue for a ride that would be that popular.
Yeah, you're talking about a Coco ride that's going to have an hour wait, and you're going to have the tequila and margarita line that is going to be going out the door sometimes. That's a lot to throw into an indoor pavilion. I agree with you there. It is a little disjointed, I'll give you that. It doesn't feel like it fits there, but I do think we need a Coco ride, and I know that an Omni mover that will just eat people is needed in Hollywood Studios, and I think that would fill that particular need.
Yeah, I feel like it's just kind of a case of this would be the very popular attraction. People would ride it, it would eat the people. Hollywood Studios is disjointed as is. So, in my ideal world, we could add, more of a Pixar land and kind of focus more on general Pixar in Hollywood Studios just as an added bonus. And that would be part of that section. So maybe it wouldn't feel quite as disjointed. But yeah, I kept thinking about, Great Movie Ride 2.0, but I wanted to go a little different than that.
I like it. What are you thinking about Rock and Roller Coaster?
Make it Muppets. You just got Muppets Electric Mayhem coming out.
Oh,
You
you know what?
own
That is a good idea. Boy, that's putting Muppets at two completely different ends of the park, but
Move it over. Just make that whole area Muppets. Listen,
okay.
this is my dream world. They're going to expand Galaxy's Edge. At some point it's going to happen.
Okay, so instead of getting rid of Muppet Vision 3D, we move it over. Boy, that's good, Marissa. Because that Muppet Vision 3D, that is the last time Jim Henson ever voiced the Muppets. So we don't want to get rid of that story, but we can move the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Give
good. I
us
like it. Yours is better than mine, but I have retheming Rock and Roller Coaster to monsters
okay.
and having sort of the doors go past you as you fly through it, and then trying to put another Pixar. Like, we're definitely feeling the Pixar vibe for Hollywood Studios. So I'm thinking back there, if you can expand, and I think you can because we run this a lot in the runDisney races, the backstage area back there. If you could expand past Lightning McQueen and just put a show building there, and I'm going to go with, they don't treat her like she's a Disney princess because she's Pixar, and they don't treat her like she's Pixar because she's a Disney princess. So if we're doing a Pixar style land, let's get a Merida dark ride in Hollywood Studios. That whole Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, Brave ride, and Monsters taking over Rock and Roller Coaster. I think that's a good spot, but maybe I am a little biased like you with your character dining with Mary Poppins.
No, I genuinely think that would be such a cool ride. And when you said that, I immediately pictured in Brave when she's following the will-o-wisps, how cool that would be as like the start of your dark ride. And it's kind of dark and you've got that like lighting up. So it looks like you're following that path. And then, you go on this adventure with her would be such a cool ride.
And I don't know exactly how to do it, but when you're on the seas with Nemo and friends and you ride the EAC and it sort of makes you feel like you're going faster, even though you're going the same speed you were the whole time. I feel like you go into a room where that happens and it feels like you're riding Angus through a scene. That's just how I envision it in my mind. I am not an Imagineer yet, so I don't know exactly how to do it, but that was what I had running through my head. Number 10, I think that Springtime Surprise is a mess of a Run Disney event. Now, we have both done it 2 years in a row. It is hot. There are blackout dates for a lot of annual passes. So annual pass holders don't want to do it because they can't go into the parks after the races are finished. I want to retheme a Run Disney event that will replace Springtime Surprise.
I kind of cheated on this one because
I don't think you cheated because I'm probably doing the same thing.
I don't know. I don't think so. I like Springtime Surprise because I like the variation in themes. I like that, Princess Weekend, you're getting princesses. Marathon Weekend, it's always the classic characters. I like that Springtime gives you a little bit of that variation so you don't really know what you're getting. It's a surprise each year. But to your point about the heat, that's what I was thinking. And my solution is to make them all night races. So, as a night owl, I would much rather run at night than get up at 2 a.m. to run. I think it would be so fun if you could do a series of night races. A few years ago, they had the 5K through Animal Kingdom at night, and it is hands down one of my favorite Run Disney memories. It was so much fun. So I would do a 5K through Animal Kingdom, a 10K through the Epcot and Hollywood Studios route, and then a 10-mile around Magic Kingdom. You can also throw in an after party like they have with Wine and Dine. So if you throw in an after party that comes with your 10-mile like it does with the half for Wine and Dine, then you're enticing people to come because even though they're blocked out of the parks, they still have that after party ticket now included with their challenge or 10-mile registration.
All right, hear me out. I don't know how many different people would do this. I know we would do it, but I don't know how many other people are like down for an all-nighter. But what if you did a 10-mile night race at Magic Kingdom that started super late and the after hours party was breakfast?
That would be incredible. That would be perfect.
The after race party would be a breakfast. That would be awesome.
That would be so much fun.
You could watch the sun come up at California Grill. That could be where you have the after party. So instead of watching the fireworks, you watch the sun come up over Bay Lake or Seven Seas. I'm trying to do east-west in my head here. It will come up over Bay Lake, and that would just be an incredible event. You could charge $200 for that event, and people would pay it. No worries.
Yeah, and I think I might be misremembering, but I think back when it used to be, back when they did the Tower of Terror race before, I think that was also a night race. So they have done it in the past, and people have signed up for it and shown interest and wanted to do it.
Are you doing it at the same time, or are you going to do it maybe even still like a week earlier or something?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, now that might run into Easter depending on the year, but I still think it's a little too late. I think it's a little too hot by the time they do it. If they could just do it a little bit earlier.
I know. I think the struggle is spring break. Like right after Princess, you rush right into spring break crowds, and then Easter, and then it's like right after that ends, you have springtime. So if you push it sooner, you can do it, but it's just one of those, you're going to add more crowds on top of crowds.
Okay, I like where you're going. I think that was a better idea than anything I had. I just wanted to bring back the rivalry run and do it at a time when it was cooler outside.
Listen, I'd be down for that too.
I wanted the Star Wars races to return, but you actually came up with a really good idea. And I do think that the nighttime races are something that they need to do more. And a 10-miler is a good one because I do think a half marathon or a marathon at night is a little too much to ask of people, being up all day. And then people are going to go into the parks. Even if you tell them not to go into the parks, they will. So a 10-miler might be a good, this is the max that you want to do at this time of day. I like it. Number 11, anything please God, anything to replace the Tomorrowland Speedway or update it in some way.
I know this is not in any way, shape, or form a unique idea, but Wreck-It Ralph. Make it the Sugar Rush Speedway. Update those cars so they are like electric cars. Retheme it so it's bright and colorful and fun like the Sugar Rush and Wreck-It Ralph. You know, you still get to keep the track. You still get to keep the bones of it, so it's not as extensive of a renovation, but it kind of makes it just a little bit more current.
Could you see if they really put the money into that and it was glowing candy at night next to Tron? That would just be so breathtaking. You'd have these like lollipops that are glowing different colors, maybe changing colors in patterns as it goes through. And then the cars are driving through. All of a sudden, it turns this thing that is just such an eyesore and it smells bad and turns it into something that could be really beautiful. And then you do keep that kinetic energy of having a lot of motion in the parks. So once again, I do think you have a better answer than mine. Now, I'm just so done with the Speedway that I just want to blow it up and build a big dark ride in Tomorrowland and a big dark ride in Fantasyland that can eat a lot of people. But if you are going to try to keep this concept of kids getting the opportunity to drive, I do like that idea.
What dark rides are you putting in?
I don't know what I do with the Rapunzel bathrooms, but I get rid of the Rapunzel bathrooms, and I think I have to go with a Tangled ride. I think having Tiana now in Frontierland, which may be changing lands at some point. We have Anna and Elsa over in Epcot. I'm putting Merida over in Hollywood Studios. And then if we have Moana already going into Epcot and probably going into Animal Kingdom a little bit more, I think that Tangled is one that's very, very popular. When it comes to Tomorrowland, I know they just have this huge reliance on Pixar. And I know that none of our ideas are ever going to be picked up on anyone, are going to be picked up by anybody. So I can't expect that any one of them will. So maybe WALL-E in Tomorrowland. I think you could do a really good WALL-E dark ride in Tomorrowland, and that fits the theme of the land and will never not fit the theme. It will always be Tomorrowland, and it won't run into that Tomorrowland problem of tomorrow coming, because it will always be that dystopian future that hopefully is far enough in the distance. So now we are going to wrap it up with number 12. This is important. I think this is something that is just a huge waste of space right now in Walt Disney World. Something to take the place of the NBA experience in Disney Springs. This thing lasted for like 2 months, I think. It was even a bigger disaster than the Star Cruiser.
Didn't it open? It opened right before the parks closed, right?
Yeah, it was very poor timing. Now, I'm not going to say that was the only problem with it, and I am a sports fan, but this failed pretty badly.
If I'm going in there and fixing it, honestly, so one half joke answer, I think put in a High School Musical experience. Those movies are still like super popular, super nostalgic.
Okay, what
You
would
don't
the
have to
experience
change.
be, though? Like,
You
would you
could
pay
go
a
in
ticket
and
as
like,
part of it, or?
yeah, you could. I was thinking that it could have like this like split setup almost of you can keep some of the basketball stuff and you can kind of do like, you know, East High Wildcats themed stuff. But then you can also do like the New Year's party in the first High School Musical where it opens, where they're singing karaoke. And so you can kind of do this like dual experience of like basketball and karaoke.
Wait, are you putting a karaoke bar in Disney Springs? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah.
That would be pretty great.
It'd be pretty fun. But if I really had to pick something that I think they'd actually do, or maybe they wouldn't actually do it, but I think they already had a successful thing going with the VR. And I think that VR is only becoming more and more relevant and more popular. So maybe it's not a Star Wars virtual reality. Maybe it's more of a general virtual reality and you can pick different Disney related missions or whatever to go on. I think people would pay to do that, and I think it would still be pretty darn popular.
Yeah, and why limit yourself to just doing Star Wars or Marvel, or make it something where it can be different every time you go there, because that will have that re-rideability or that re-experience ability. I know that this is an answer a lot of people have been giving, but I would like it to turn into some sort of museum. I think with the 100th anniversary exhibit at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, we now have that Walt hologram or whatever. I think we could take a lot of what was going on in that exhibit and just move it over to Disney Springs, charge people a couple of dollars to experience it. I think they would hand the money over like it was candy. Like, I think people want to surround themselves in nostalgia. And I think that Disney Springs is a place where people go the first day of their trip. Their plane lands, they get in the middle of the day, they go to the World of Disney store. Now you go to this museum and you build up all that nostalgia for Disney and you build up all that excitement, and the next morning you rope drop Magic Kingdom. That would be a great way to start a vacation.
That is such a good idea. And it's one of those things that you say it and I go, how have they not done this?
Well, maybe they are thinking it, and that's why they're just waiting until the Franklin Institute thing is done. Let's hope that that's the reason. Marisa, this was just another fantastic conversation. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
This has been episode 138 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. If you checked us out on YouTube today, please make sure to like this video, comment, and we would really love for you to be subscribed to the channel. You definitely will want a reminder next week when Sarah Says is going to be here for her third round of Fact or Figment about Disneyland Resort. This is where we take commonly held opinions about Disneyland and decide if, in our humble opinions, they are facts or figments. We always have a lot of fun with that segment. You can catch it next Thursday on Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Until then, have a great week.